This is where XRP should finally start moving, and it still doesn't. And if you're holding XRP expecting this to be the moment that changes everything, this is the part that actually matters. Because up to now, everything we've looked at could move value, but it couldn't really do anything with it. Payments could happen, transfers could happen, even trading could happen, but nothing inside the system was actually controlling what happened next. That's why in this series, I've been breaking this down. Not hype, not news, not price. This is a technical deep dive into how these technologies actually work inside the XRP Ledger, step by step. Because instead of guessing what's happening, we're actually looking at the systems being built and how value is really moving underneath all of it. And up to this point, everything we've looked at keeps showing the same pattern. Payments can move without forcing demand to stay in the XRP coin. Wallets can be used without needing to hold it long term. Even trading inside the system doesn't mean value actually sticks there. So the system grows, activity increases, more gets built, but the outcome most people expect still doesn't show up. And that's what led me to the next question. If it's not payments, not wallets, not trading, then maybe the missing piece isn't any of those things. Maybe it's something deeper in how the system actually works. And that's where something like Evernode starts to feel like it might finally solve it. Because now, instead of just moving value, you can actually run logic around it. You can host applications, you can execute rules, almost like a smart contract layer built alongside the XRP Ledger. And this is where you'd expect everything to finally connect. Because now you're not just sending value, you're actually processing it, running logic on it, building systems on top of it. Evernode is essentially a decentralized hosting network where developers can deploy applications across a global set of machines instead of relying on centralized infrastructure. It was built to bring compute and application logic into the XRP ecosystem, something the ledger itself wasn't originally designed for. And the reason it connects to XRPL in the first place is because XRPL already handles what it's good at: moving value quickly, settling transactions, acting as the base layer for the system. Wasn't designed to run complex general-purpose applications like newer smart contract platforms. That's where Evernode comes in. It acts as a compute layer on top, where applications can actually run, logic can execute, and workloads can be processed, while XRPL handles the movement underneath it. So instead of replacing the ledger, it extends it. Think of it like this. XRPL is really good at moving value from point A to point B quickly and efficiently. But once that value arrives, XRPL wasn't originally designed to run full applications, manage complex logic, or keep processes running over time. Evernode is trying to fill that gap. It gives developers a place to deploy applications, run services, and process tasks across a network of machines, instead of relying on a single centralized provider. So now, instead of just sending value, you can actually build systems around it. One layer moves value, the other tries to do something with it. And on the surface, that sounds like exactly what was missing. And if you've been in XRP for a while, this probably feels like the moment everything should finally connect. Especially with Evernode distributing its token early on to XRP holders, which pulled a lot of attention into it. This is where you'd think, okay, now demand should actually stick. But if you're holding XRP expecting this layer to drive the price, this is where it starts to break. Because Evernode doesn't actually run directly on the XRP Ledger. It operates through a connected environment like Xahau, which extends what the XRP Ledger can support, which means it's part of the ecosystem, but it operates under its own system. And inside that system, everything runs on its own token, EVR. That's what's used to pay for hosting. That's what rewards the nodes. That's what powers the network itself. So you can interact with everything being built, run applications, participate in that system, without needing to hold XRP long-term in most cases. And that's the pattern that keeps showing up. Every time something new gets added, it changes what the system can do, but not what it actually depends on. And those are two completely different things. One grows the system, the other drives demand. So even when the system grows, the demand doesn't have to go where most people think it should. And when those don't line up, you can end up with a system that's getting more advanced, more active, more useful, without the outcome most people are expecting, which is exactly what we've been seeing. Because even with real users, real infrastructure, and real activity happening, a lot of the direct demand in that layer is tied to EVR, not necessarily XRP. So the system grows, the activity increases, the infrastructure expands, but the value being created doesn't have to stay in the XRP coin. So if it's not payments, not trading, and not even execution, then the answer might not be in the features at all. Because at this point, Everything we've looked at can grow the system. Very little in the system directly forces sustained demand to stay in XRP coin, which means the part that actually drives the outcome might be somewhere else entirely. And that's where this starts to shift. Because if it's not the features, then the next place to look isn't what's being built, it's who's actually using it. And more importantly, how they're using it. Because if demand is ever going to stick, it won't come from what the system can do. It'll come from how it's actually being used at scale. And that's exactly what I'm breaking down next.